a great pleasure to be here at the Congress. It's a great pleasure to be back in New Zealand from London in England, where we're currently resident. Executive longevity, what is it? Well, let me explain. We work with senior executives and management teams in large companies, teaching them how they can live and perform better at work and in business, but crucially for longer, by taking much better care of themselves, because many of them don't. And it's about extending their earning capacity, it's about extending their career longevity, and certainly about extending their life expectancy, with a mission to prevent any one of the three corporate career killers, as we say. That is burnout, bailout, or being booted out, where stress and failure to look after themselves adequately in this business environment overwhelms them. It would be fair to say that the business environment is getting tougher rather than easier, and we're not out of the storm yet, so it's going to continue to do so. And yet, none of us in business are getting any younger. We seem to be getting older, weaker, slower, fatter, more tired, instead of the other way. Business is uploading more pressure, and companies are still downsizing their key talent. And that creates a massive gulf. It starts behoving us as individuals in business, as leaders in business, to look at ourselves, to look at our teams, to look at our colleagues, those who we work with and those who work for us, and figure out maybe there's something we can do to help improve that situation. And the answer is very, very simple and very, very cost effective. So what I want to do with you this morning is share some of our experiences in business in that regard, share with you 7 of our hard-edged rules, which are rules to live by and work by that we find very, very effective, and particularly with a view to how those might apply to yourself, how they might apply to your business or to people in your business, to make improvements in those areas. A quick background. Originally from New Zealand, brought up in Christchurch, now live in Timaru. We're living in the UK, we've been there for the last 12 years. And we come back every year to see our family. We've now got 3 grown-up children and 6 wonderful grandchildren, back in Timaru and also in Australia. But every year we come back, it's becoming more and more noticeable how huge New Zealanders are becoming. And we now have the dubious distinction of being the 3rd fattest country in the world, next only to Mexico and the USA. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a disgrace. It's a national disgrace, and we need to do something about it. We need to do something about it fast. Now you may think that I'm being a little bit judgmental, a little bit harsh perhaps, but there's something else you need to know. Another little known fact. At the age of 25, I was in terrible, terrible shape. In fact, I weighed in at 122 kilos, it was 18.5 stone, about 260 pounds, not an ounce of it was muscle, to my shame. And I was living in complete denial that my weight was any kind of a problem until the day I went for a medical. About a week later, the doctor rang me up and said, "I need to see you." So I walked into his office and pulled up a couple of chairs and sat down. It's okay to laugh. And he said to me, "Tim, you failed your medical." And I said, "Why?" Like I didn't have a mirror at home. And I said, "Well, your cholesterol level's 9.7. He said, "I've never seen a cholesterol level of 9.7. Your blood pressure's 150 over 110, and your body mass index, your BMI, which measures your height against your weight, on your BMI, you rate as morbidly obese." I thought, that's terrible. I said, "Well, I admit, I'm a bit short for my weight." And he says, "A little bit." He said, "According to this chart," he said, "if your weight was normal, you should be 13'7". And I said, "Come on, give me a break, you know, it runs in the family. It's genetic." He said, "Tim, there's not enough running going on in your family." "Was you saying I'm fat?" He said, "Well," he said, "let me put it this way, if there's a fire alarm and I had to get out in a hurry, it'd be faster for me to climb over you than run around you." Then he did a strange and a curious thing. He had a piece of paper in an envelope. He slid it across the table towards me. I said, "What's this?" It's like it was his bill. And he said, "No," he said, "it's a written medical warning." I said, "I don't know what that is." And he said, "Well, you're at work," he said, because I had some people working for me, I had a company and business at the time. "It's you at work, if you guys fail to perform or they screw up, you give them a written warning. They get 3 written warnings and then you have to let them go, right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm familiar with that process." And he said, "When you get 2 of these, they read the second one out at your funeral." He He said, it's my considered medical opinion at the age of 25 as you are now that you will not be alive to see your 30th birthday unless you do something drastically different to your lifestyle right now. Now, I don't know if any of you have been in a situation where, or you know somebody that's been in a situation where a registered medical practitioner, somebody who knows what they're doing, knows what they're talking about, has all the evidence in front of them, literally puts a date stamp on the day you're going to die, and it's not very far away. And for me, that was a very, very sobering experience. And that was at the point I decided I need to cross that line. You see, my wife had been on me about my weight for a number of years, and snoring and getting fatter and all those sorts of things. But isn't it funny, you never listen to the people closest to you. Do you notice that? And it just went all over my head, you know, until the doctor said it, and then I started taking notice and sitting up paying attention. So I decided, well, what do people do when they need to get back in shape or go on a diet? Now, raise your hand if you've ever, hardly ever, even once in your life, been on a diet. Come on, raise your hand. You've been on a diet ever once in your life. Okay, thank you very much. Now, raise your other hand, because we want a balanced workout out of this. Raise your other hand if, when you did the diet, you lost the weight. Thank you very much. Hands down. See, diets do work. People say they don't, but diets do work. Two things happen at the end, though. Either the diet fails or people fail. Isn't that true? And what happens is when you come off the diet, you go back to whatever it was you had before you went on the diet. And if those things were making you out of shape and tired and fatigued and overweight and all those sorts of things, that's exactly where you go back to. And so I went on this whole diet yo-yo cycle. I have done every diet under the sun, ladies and gentlemen, from the A to the Z, from the Atkins through to the Zone. I've done them all. And let me tell you, every time I lost the weight, as soon as I came off the diet, we'll go back on. Sometimes more. With one exception. That was a thing called the straw diet. Has anybody heard of the straw diet? Doesn't matter which hand you raise for this one. Not many people have. It didn't last very long. There's a reason why. At the time I was doing all these diets, I had an Australian friend of mine that everybody knew as Aussie Rob, funnily enough. Particularly his name was Graham. And Aussie Rob and I would do these mad diets together, like diet buddies. And one day he rang me up and he says, "Oh, Tim," he says, "Tim, I've got this great diet I think we should do. It's called the straw diet." And I said, "Sounds interesting, Rob, what's all that about?" But I said, "Does that mean you've got to eat a lot of hay and oats and sort of like horse, why don't you just call it the horse diet?" And he said, no, you don't understand, mate. He said, "This diet's great, it's only got one rule, you're going to love it. The only rule is you can eat anything you like, as long as you can suck it up through a straw." Yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, so water, diet shakes, really thin soup. I said, "Rob, this diet isn't going to work, mate." He says, "Mate," he says, "you don't get it." He says, "There's nothing in the rule that says how big the straw has to be." Because as Aussie Rob and I found out, there's not much you can't get up through the end of a didgeridoo. If you really put your mind to it. Burgers, pies, fries. You can get a Sunday roast meal up through one of those things. Did you know that? 4 weeks I put on 20 pounds. Worst diet I ever went on. And interestingly enough, when I came off the diet, the weight came off. There's a bit of a turnaround. At the end of that, I decided to sit down and think, you know, this whole diet thing doesn't work. It's not a life plan. It's not succeeding for me. I need to think a little bit differently about this. And that's when I came up with a number of things that form part of what we call our Hard-Edge rules. The first Hard-Edge rule is this: you can't have a lean body and a fat head. You can't have a lean body and a fat head. As long as I was holding on to all the tastes and the habits and the rituals that I liked and enjoyed being overweight and out of shape, didn't matter what I did, as soon as I gave that up or turned my mind off that, you go right back to where you start from. It's an incongruency, it's a mismatch, it will never work. Until I started thinking a little bit differently and thinking, you know, if I want that physique of a hard-conditioned athlete, I'm going to have to start behaving like one. Would a hard-conditioned athlete have a second helping of dessert at a buffet? Probably not. Would he be even at a buffet? Maybe not. Here's an interesting thing about buffets. This is just a little bit aside. Buffets are great. It's not about all you can eat. It's about you can choose. Okay, know that. It's not about all you can eat, it's about you can choose. That's what I like about buffets. So you can't have a lean body and a fat head. Interestingly enough, it's the same in business, isn't it? If you're the head of your organisation, if you have an executive team that isn't congruent with the messages it's giving out to the rest of the organisation, you know what, our organisation needs to be fitter and healthier. You're the fattest, out of shape, chain-smoking, alcoholic person in the company. That message isn't going to resonate, is it? So leadership starts from the top. Visible leadership example, BLE we call it. Can't have a lean body and a fat head. Second thing I found out is binge strategies don't work when it comes to diet, when it comes to exercise. Third thing I found out is you have to be committed. You have to be committed to it. This is not something you can play with. You're either on the train or off the train. You can't have one foot on the train, one on the platform, because you know what's going to happen, right? You have to decide, are you going to commit yourself to living a healthier, leaner lifestyle, or are you not? Now, it doesn't mean from time to time you can have a deviation for a special occasion. So you can go out and have a few drinks and eat things that are probably off the healthy menu plan from time to time. If it's a wedding, if it's an anniversary, if it's a birthday, those sorts of things. Those are special occasions, but understand this, special occasions happen occasionally. Okay. Dinner is not a special occasion. It happens every night. All right. So you do have to be committed with this. And it also occurred to me that our hunter-gatherer nature still exists. Our DNA hasn't changed in the last 100,000 years. It was at World Medical Anti-Aging Conference I was presenting at earlier this year. Spoke to a paleoanthropologist who said, you know what, nothing has changed. Our energy systems, our skeletal systems, our endocrine systems, everything is exactly the same. And back in those days, we were lean, hard, fit individuals. I mean, we had to fight for everything that we got, food, shelter, warmth. It was hard work, and we didn't have a lot of it. And necessarily our systems evolved to work around that. However, nowadays things have changed. We're still hunter-gatherers, but now we're in a corporate environment, a concrete jungle. Our behaviours are different, they're not congruent anymore with our DNA, with how our bodies function. Our bodies don't know what the hell's going on. Which is why when we're eating the wrong foods, too much of the wrong foods, not getting enough exercise that we were designed to get, our bodies put on weight, our hormonal systems go haywire. Everything starts going wrong. We start losing the ability to sleep properly, get proper energy, get proper recovery, deal with stress, operate effectively under stress. You know, it wasn't too long ago that the average male kind of looked pretty fit, even in the 40s, 50s, 60s, post-war. You know, there weren't very many overweight people. I remember I was in a stream of 60 people in our class in Form 1 and 2. 60 people, there's only 2 people who are overweight, myself and Grant Badger. Now you tend to find statistically, nearly half the children in your classroom are overweight, and about a quarter are obese. Again, it's a disgrace. You see, our physiques have morphed into something our hunter-gatherer ancestors probably wouldn't recognise today. Little wonder our systems aren't working as well as we want them to, right? This photo was taken on a holiday we had in Spain of a lovely couple outside what we call a DFO, or a dreadful food outlet. And there's a few of them around these days. And this couple, I didn't know they made tandem mobility scooters. You know, like, it's a genetic thing that people get disabled with the same thing at the same time. So you have couples who have the same illnesses and disease. This is just laziness. Okay? In Spain, the economy, as you know, is in a bit of trouble. Would that be a fair comment? And yet there's one industry that is booming over there. The rental, the production, and the sale of mobility scooters. This particular place we were at, there were more of these parked outside the pub than there were cars. People just using them as a default exercise option, a transport option rather than exercise. Like their legs were painted on. You know, and the thing is, this is becoming normal. And we're becoming desensitized to the problem. But we need to wake up and start going back to our roots and thinking, is this how our hunter-gatherer ancestors evolved? Is this the reason we're here today? No, it's not. It's not at all. Hardy's rule number 4. Don't abdicate responsibility for your own health to someone else. It's your body. You have it. You owe it. You owe yourself the responsibility to figure out how to look after yourself. Now, we used to say it's not rocket science, but actually I believe it is. Because your human body is the most complex, but also the most marvellously capable bioorganism that we know. And certainly the one that you'll be given it, you possess it. And it is rocket science. But know this, rocket science isn't difficult for a rocket scientist. And my sister's a captain, flies jumbo jets for Cathay. Flying a jumbo jet isn't difficult for a pilot. And you need to understand how your body works and functions, because it shouldn't be difficult to figure it out. But we lack the knowledge, right? Sometimes there's too much knowledge, too much conflicting information in the media. So you need to disseminate that through. Figure out what the science is behind it. And that's what we do with individuals and corporates and teams when we're working with them. Say, hey, listen, this is the science behind this. When you're stressed, we're talking about cortisol, low testosterone levels. No wonder you're losing your drive. Talk about that in a second. It's all scientific information. A couple of years ago, we worked with, in motor racing with Team RAC in the British Touring Car Championships. I loved that. It was not a hardship, I can tell you. And we were given the responsibility for looking after driver performance. Okay, so I said to the race director, Mike Ewing, the first day we went in there, I said, Mike, give me a breakdown on the operation here. And they had a massive, massive warehouse, and they had these 4 gleaming orange BMWs lined up, the big race trucks, everything was set up there. Big operation. I said, Mike, how much does it cost to get these race tracks out on the race cars out on the track? £30,000 every weekend. Each one of those cars go out. That's not including all the logistics and support. Even had a guy in there, Albert, who's a rocket scientist, literally from NASA, and he would go around with his laptop measuring all the engine performance, car dynamics, all the tyre temperatures, track temperatures, ambient air temperature. There was nothing left to chance. Nothing left to chance. I said to Mike, what's your budget for driver performance? Do you know what he said to me? Not a penny. Not a penny. I don't know about you, but can you not see a massive hole in their team performance matrix that you could probably broad slide a bright orange BMW through sideways? You know, what if you'd done all this work on the track and the car and everything was prepped up and the mechanics and all that investment and the promotions, the PR, all those sorts of things, and the driver turned up with a hangover? Had an argument with his wife on the way out the door. Had a poor night's sleep because the young kiddie who kept him awake all night, as Colin Turkington actually found that happened. What if he'd had a bad curry the night before? Now there's too much left to chance, because know this, your capacity for performance is dependent on the lowest denominator. Because the same would work the other way, wouldn't it? Say if we got one of the greatest Formula 1 drivers around, Jenson Button, I don't know, someone like that. Out in the Formula 1 car racing, we said, Jenson, you're racing for our charity today, and we've got a car, it's a great car lined up for you, put you out on the track. It's a 1965 Ford Anglia. One lady owner, only driven on Sundays, tyres are good, the engine's good, it's pristine, mate. It's going to go like a rocket. Now, listen, the Formula 1 race, it's not going to go like a rocket. But that driver will probably get as much as anybody on earth could possibly extract from that car in terms of performance. But it's just not going to be competitive, because your capacity for performance depends on the lowest denominator. And we find the same every single day in business. Because, actually, let me put it out there. Let me ask you a question. Here's some audience response. What is it in business that you bring to the table as business leaders, as business owners? What is it? What are the elements? What are the skills? What's the expertise? Let me have some thoughts. What is it that you bring? What are you hiring people for? What are the qualities you hire people for?
What's the difference? What's the difference?
Namely?
Character.
Character? Good answer. Good answer.
Ability to think.
Ability to think. Mental agility. Yeah.
Values like integrity and honesty.
Absolutely. Definitely. Good answer.
Passion.
Passion. What else?
Innovation.
Innovation. We've been talking about that a little bit today, the last couple of days. What else?
The capacity to perform.
Sorry?
The capacity to perform.
Capacity to perform. Yes. Capability. Exactly, exactly. Skills, experience, training, market knowledge. The ability to be an inspirational leader, a good communicator, all these skills. Would you not agree? Those are important skills, and that's what makes our business tick. But here's an interesting question for you. What have all those things got in common? What do they all have in common? People, exactly. More than that. Folks, they all happen from the neck up. They all happen from the neck up. And so many times people think that's all that matters. How you perform from the neck up. But know this, your brain is an organ of the body, and it's just an organ of the body, the same as your heart, your liver, your lungs, your kidney, your skin, your digestive system. And the level of maintenance and the level of investment you put into that in terms of exercise, nutrition, rest and recovery, that you put into your body is the same level that you're investing into your brain. And if your requirements, or if the requirements of your brain are at a high level, we're always looking for high performers in business, you need to be a high performer today, and yet from the neck down, everything is low performance. The food you eat, the exercise you get, the rest and recovery you get. Your capacity for performance will depend on the lowest denominator. There is a link, there's a very strong link. American Academy of Urology, 2008, did a study on 3,500 men, over 40 years. They discovered that a man aged 40 of normal weight, but who had a big belly when the other cohort didn't, was 70% more likely to get dementia as he aged than those that didn't. Now, women, you might think you're being excluded from that statistic, that particular study, but know this, women are more prone to dementia than men. So figure that. Study went on to conclude, at the age of 50, a man of normal weight with a big belly, age 50 is 300% more likely to get dementia than a man of the same age without one. The shape that you're in from the neck down will affect everything you do from the neck up, folks. It's that simple. There's no disconnection. There's no disconnect at the neck. Otherwise, the city, the banking system, the political system would all be run by a secret army of Daleks. Actually, thinking about that. Could be a possibility. But it's not. We're human beings. It's what we call your cerebral capital. Okay, and it's probably the greatest asset any business ever has, is its cerebral capital. And nothing is done to protect, preserve, to ring fence that. It's the greatest asset a business has, but you won't see it on the balance sheet. Last year, the CEO of Lloyds Bank in the UK, Antonio Horta-Rosario, had to take emergency stress leave. The British media got hold of it. You know anything about the British media? Overnight, their share price fell by 6.5%. Hundreds of millions of pounds wiped off the value of that company, and they never got it back. Because of the cerebral capital value of one man. The CEO, the chief executives, the people at the top of your organisation have key client relationships. What happens to your business if that loses traction, if one of them burns out, if they bail out, if they get sick, if they get ill, if they get a disease, if they die? It costs hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars, millions of pounds, millions and millions of yen. Cerebral capital is something that we need to fight, to protect, to preserve. Okay. Here's the statistics. Men, you need to be less than 95 centimetres around the waist to get out of the high risk category. Ladies, you need to be less than 75 centimetres to get out of the high risk category. For men, that's 38 inches, ladies, 30 inches around the waist. Regardless of height, frame size, body mass index. That is a real statistic we're talking about. Apologies for some audience, members of the audience that might find this a little offensive, but this, you might recognise the gentleman on the right as a chap called Dr. Gunther von Hagen, who has pioneered the science of plastinated autopsy. And he has an exhibition which travels the world called Body Worlds. And it's essentially an autopsy frozen in time. And you can see and observe skeletal systems, circulatory systems, muscular systems, all parts of the body, the brain completely dissected and preserved. It's a marvellous education. If you ever see it, get the chance to see it, you must go and see it. We get all our trainers, all our clients to go and see this exhibition when they can. This is a program they did aimed at medical students on anti-aging, on the aging process. The lady on the right is 80 years of age and she's pretty fit, very active, not an ounce of fat on her. Lady on the left is 20 years of age, again she's very active, very fit. No excess body fat on her. The lady on the right, 80 years of age, as you may observe, is about a foot shorter than the lady on the left. However, in her 20s she was the same height. And you can see what's happened here because this total postural collapse where the shoulders have pulled forward. Notice the length of the arms. The shoulders have pulled forward and sunk down. The head is pushed forward to counterbalance. The chest has collapsed. The spine has collapsed. Poor woman, her breasts are in her lap, for goodness sake. Total postural collapse. But what else do you notice about that comparison? What else do you notice about that comparison? And it may not be something that's different. Their legs, what about them?
Very similar.
In what way?
Very strong.
Very strong? Yep. Who said that? I'd like that one of the first persons to put your hand on that straight away. Can you pass that back to that lady just behind you? So one of our corporate tips booklets, 50 little tips of things you can do to stay in great shape. Thank you very much for that observation. Yes, they're both the same height from the hip down. So all the advice we get about getting strong bones, you need to do weight-bearing exercise like walking and running, all those sorts of things. Great for the bones that you're doing that exercise with. But what happens for everything else in the body? See, your body, your posture is made up almost entirely of muscles. That's what holds you together. That's what gives you your shape. It gives you your agility, your ability to move around, your ability to sit up straight, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's pretend just for a second, this is not a lecture, but it's an acting class, Acting 101 with Tim Bean. What I want you to do is assume the position, assume the posture of someone who is fatigued, stressed, tired, old. Go. Now hold that position. Don't move from that position. What I want you to do is draw a deep, full lungful of air. Go. Do you find that very difficult? Okay, breathe out. Now I want you to assume the position of someone who's bright, alert, engaged, youthful. Go. Now take a deep breath in. And you can do it. Oxygen capacity, if nothing else, is affected on by your posture. How many of us spend all day sitting in a chair behind a screen, in an aircraft, in a boardroom meeting, in a hotel room? All the time we're sitting doing nothing for a posture. Here's the challenge. Hold that posture for the rest of the talk. I guarantee most of you won't. Do you know why? Because we haven't trained our postural muscles to be strong. Only the strong survive. Strength is the key. Because it also affects hormones, it also affects metabolic rate as well. Most of your body's made of muscles. So the stronger you can become, the more effective you can become. You can breathe more oxygen, as we said, at the very least. These two ladies are competitive bodybuilders into some sort of sport. Now, here's another competition. Guess the age. This is a mother and daughter combination. So, the lady on the left is the mother, the lady on the right is the daughter. Clearly, at the time these photographs were taken, what age do you think they were? Anybody? 65 and 40? 70 and 50?
80, 60.
Any other guesses? Wow. Kerry's 81 and her daughter Cole's 53. Now listen, I understand that many women probably wouldn't want to be walking around town looking like this. It's not on everybody's agenda, okay? But listen, if I gave you the choice at the age of 80 between looking like that and looking like the lady in the previous slide, age 80, which would you go for? Go for this one, right? And you don't have to take it to that extreme, but if she's doing something that counts, something really, really, really important. And so I could suggest anything to you, ladies and men. The key thing you need to do exercise-wise is lift weights and get strong. You don't have to get all hot and sweaty with all this knees bent, running about, and advancing behaviour. Just get in there and get strong. Lift weights, it'll improve your muscle metabolism. Here's the thing. And there's two things to this. So I see a lot of women in the room. Do you ever watch Body Language? A lot of women think lifting weights. Not lifting weights. If I lift weights, I'm going to get bulky. Don't want to get bulky. Do you know what? Here's a representation of 5 pounds of muscle and 5 pounds of fat. Okay? 2.2 kilos of muscle, 2.2 kilos of fat. I have to get this back in the fridge pretty quickly too. Okay, which of these is bulky? Yeah, it's not muscle. There's no danger of that. And yet here's the beauty of this. If you were to put these 5 pounds of muscle on your tiny bird-like frames, and I don't mean just anywhere, because like that would just look gross, right? But if over your whole body you improved your muscle tone, your muscle condition from 5 pounds, this 5 pounds of muscle will burn this 5 pounds of fat off in less than 3 months if you never got out of a chair. That's the metabolic advantage of muscle. That's the metabolic advantage of muscle. It counts. And in all our years of experience working with thousands and thousands of individuals and teams, that's the one strategy that works the best. That's all you need to do. Just start with it 3 times a week. Hard edge rule number 6. Lift weights. Strong people stay young. Strong people stay young. Here's the thing, not many corporate lectures you attend and get a lecture about testosterone and hormones. We're going to talk about testosterone. Why? Well, you see, testosterone is responsible for sex drive, libido, erectile function, men obviously, erectile function, but also aggression and decisiveness in men and women, confidence and risk-taking in men and women, and mood, brain function in men and women. Alike, it also affects bone and muscle mass, liver function, red blood cell production, immune function, insulin sensitivity. Do you think that these skills would be important in business, apart from the top line possibly? Aggression and decisiveness, confidence and risk-taking, your mood, your brain function. Is that important in business, do you think? Yes? Yes, of course it is. As far as your health's concerned, do you think these are important? Absolutely. This is your alpha female and alpha male drive hormone. It's the main one. It gives you your punch, your get up and go, your vigour. And yet so often we see the people have their hormone systems completely messed up in business. Stress can also mess with your hormones. Here's how that works. If you have high cortisol levels, which is one of the 3 stress hormones, there's epinephrine, norepinephrine, and cortisol. Okay, if cortisol levels are high, what happens is inversely proportional. At the same time, testosterone gets squashed because it's part of the fight, flight, or freeze syndrome. So you're running away from a saber-toothed tiger. The last thing on your mind is going to be anything to do with reproduction. Okay? So the body says, no, I don't need that. Digestion, no, I don't need that. You need to run. You need to fight. You need to get out of there. And in acute stress situations, that's what happens. The difficulty is we now in business are in a situation of chronic stress. It doesn't go away. It's there every day. You wake up to it. You go into the workplace, it's there. It's there till you go home at night. High cortisol levels squash testosterone. What else squashes testosterone by raising cortisol? Well, fatigue, alcohol, nicotine, and caffeine. These are stimulants. Many workplaces have alcohol management programs. Have you heard of that? Do you have that in your own workplace? Many workplaces have smoking cessation programs to support their people. People have that in their workplace? How many businesses do you know have caffeine management policy? This is the fastest way to get adrenal fatigue. And adrenal fatigue will knock the life out of you very, very fast. You've got people falling asleep at the desks in the middle of the afternoon, adrenal fatigue. Caffeine is the way they get through it, but actually it's the cause of the problem. It's the root cause of the problem. And then they start their day with a cup of coffee. Walked past Starbucks this morning coming down the hill. There's a queue of people nearly out the door. People who can't start their day with their own energy, that they have to buy it in a cup. That's not right. That's not the hunter-gatherer way. It's not going to help you in business. And then all day, just to keep going, they have to keep having coffee. I work with the executives that have 8 double espressos a day just to get through the day. Then they're so wired at the end of the day, they have to have a bottle of wine to wind down at the end of it. What's another cortisol elevator? Oh, alcohol. And alcohol suppresses testosterone. Having a drink in the middle of the week or any night of the working week is a bad idea in business. It's a bad idea in business. Okay, because at 12 hours later, if you have a glass of wine with your meal at night, 9 o'clock the next morning when you're in that crucial sales meeting, you're making that key negotiation, you're putting together that killer sales proposal, your alpha female and alpha drive hormones will be at their all-time low. Does that sound like a sensible plan? No, it's not. Save alcohol for the weekend. Friday and Saturday nights, have a couple of glasses of alcohol, if you need to. Something you reserve for an occasion. Okay, here's some interesting statistics. A corporate male over 50 years of age typically presenting with the same level of free estrogen as a 25-year-old female. This is becoming more and more common. It's now actually becoming typical. Men are going through a gender morphing process. You know, 51% of men over the age of 40 suffer from ED or erectile dysfunction. Kind of makes me wonder if most women also don't suffer from ED. Extreme disappointment. Men are growing man boobs. And the thing is, we think it's all normal. Now, these are not man boobs. We give it a name, a pet name, man boobs. Oh, okay, so it's okay for men to have. No, it's not. These are women's breasts growing on a man. And that isn't normal, ladies and gentlemen. It's no more normal, fellows, than if you woke up in the morning to find somehow in the night your wife had grown a big old hairy pair of bollocks. Would you think that's normal? No, it's not. And you can call them anything you like. You think, well, my wife has woman's bollocks, or wallocks. Moobs and wallocks. We're rewriting the Oxford English Dictionary here, folks. It's not normal, it's not right, and it will affect your performance in business. Okay, little clicks. I want to talk to you about something different here. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a CheyTac M200 heavy sniper rifle. Again, not the sort of thing you often see in a corporate presentation. This heavy sniper rifle has the ability to deliver a .408 caliber projectile downrange with minute of angle accuracy. Minute of angle accuracy, to summarise, means that if I fired 5 shots through this weapon at a range of 2,000 yards, let's see why in a minute why I'm talking in yards, 2,000 yards, all 5 shots would hit a target the size of a dinner plate. It's about 1.5 miles. Now on a good day I can't even see a dinner plate at 2,000 yards. And what enables the sniper to be able to reach out and engage with people over such vast distances is the sniper's scope. It's a bit like Facebook really, isn't it? And the sniper's scope is a special thing because it enables the sniper to get a close range, but it also gives him ultimate accuracy. Now, if he lines up on a target and his rifle is not aimed up at the same place, the point of impact will be different. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah? In order to bring the point of impact back on target, all he needs to do is just adjust the sight by a click. One click changes the point of impact by 1/4 inch at 100 yards. It's not much. 2 clicks, 1/2 inch. 3, so like 4 clicks is 1 inch at 100 yards. Doesn't sound like much. It's not going to make that much difference at 100 yards. But at 1,000 yards, that's 10 inches. 2,000 yards, that's 20 inches. That's the difference between a hit and a complete miss. And the more little clicks he factors into the scope, the more the point of impact will change. Won't make a difference at the end of the rifle or at 100 yards. But at 1,000 yards, at 2,000 yards, could be 40 inches, 60 inches, 100 inches. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not a hit or a miss, that's a whole new piece of geography we're talking about. And weirdly enough, it's the same with our health. Because as we know, and as I've told you, binge strategies with your health don't tend to work so well. What does work is the little clicks. It's the little things you do every day and practice consistently in your own life, in your workplace. Those things start to make a difference. And it could be, you know what, I'm going to cut down from 8 double espressos to just 1 cup of coffee in the morning. I'm going to make sure that I get to bed by 10:30 every night to hit that big first delta wave deep sleep cycle that gives you the maximum rest and recovery. I'm going to make sure that I never miss breakfast. I'm going to make sure that I eat a nutritious meal at 3:30 in the afternoon. It's the most important meal of the day. And it's the one nobody ever has. Because it keeps your energy going right through to dinner time. And the fault is, most people eat far too much in the evening. Because they're far too hungry. Because they haven't eaten anything for the last 8 hours. So get that 3:30 meal in the middle of the afternoon and your energy levels will lift and you'll be able to perform and work much better in the workplace. It could be lots and lots of things. I'm going to make sure I get to the gym. I'm going to lift weights 3 times a week. And by the way, when you're lifting weights, make sure you lift heavy weights. Because they're the only ones that are going to make a difference. They're going to make you bulky, but they will make you strong. They will stress the bone matrix. They will strengthen your bone density. It will change your shape, your posture, your hormone balances. Because anabolic muscle in growth mode, produces 3 important pro-hormones. DHEA, IGF-1, and which is insulin-like growth factor, and it's a booster for testosterone. Human growth hormone is another one. So lifting weights has a lot of advantages. So that could be one of the little clicks that you put in place. So think about that. The little things you do may not make a difference in a week. They may not make a difference in a month, but in a year you will definitely notice a difference. In 10 years you will definitely notice a difference. And I want to challenge you to start thinking about your 100-year health mission. What are you going to be doing when you're 100 years of age? And understand this, there's a vast difference between being alive and being kept alive. At that age, and it's down to you, it's your choice, decisions you make now. There is no point in not being in good enough shape for business so that your business kills you. Okay? You've got a life after business. You've got a life after that. What shape are you going to be in for that? I have a piece of paper stapled to the wall in our flat back in Timaru, and it says, I, Timothy Bean, the age of 100 years of age, will beat my great-great-grandson at tennis. Now that's a big ask, because I can't hit a ball to save myself. But I figure I got like 50 years or something to figure it out, right? But as soon as you start doing that, that will change what you do from tomorrow. The little clicks you put in place will make the big difference, because if you left it until then, it could be too late to make that quantum leap to a better state of health. You might not even be alive by then. Now is the time to act. There's never a better time than right away. If you want some of those little tips, go to www.hardagetips.com. You'll be able to download the book that I was able to give to the young lady up the top there. It's got over 50 tips, 50 suggestions of things that we've found practically that work, that will help you get in better shape by putting little clicks into your lifestyle. And they won't tip your lifestyle upside down. Yes, you do things a little bit differently, but you have to, don't you? You have to if you want to make a difference. HardEdgeTips.com. Download it, it's free, it's yours. Download a copy, ingest it, and follow those guidelines. This, ladies and gentlemen, is young Eric. Young Eric joined our health club in Timaru at the age of 97. And I remember the day very clearly. His son, David Balfour, was actually quite an old, snowy-haired sort of gentleman anyway. The big white beard looked like the New Zealand version of Father Christmas, you know what I mean? And he was the local, I think he was the archdeacon of the local diocese, the Anglican Church, and he brought a youth group into our club. We had a youth outreach program in our health club. They came and we did the circuit with them afterwards. He said, Tim, he said, I see you've got a special there. If I join the club, I can bring somebody else in for free. Like a buy one, get one free sort of kind of deal. I said, yeah, that's right, David. Thinking he was going to bring in a parishioner, maybe his son, maybe his daughter, somebody he knew. I said, yeah, sure, David, who have you got in mind to bring along? He said, I'd like to bring my dad. I think, oh no, why do I get all the nusses? He's going to turn up with an urn or something, you know. But he didn't. Young Eric came in, and Eric was in like a walking frame. What do you call it? A Zimmer frame. He was in a Zimmer frame, and he had like chronic cramps. He was on quinine and all sorts of stuff. We said, well, listen, we can only try. So we put him into the gym lifting weights, because you wouldn't put a guy like that on a treadmill, right? Because that would just be cruel. So we had him lifting weights every day, coming Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he'd turn up and he started lifting weights. He'd just turn up in his civvies, don't have any of this flash gym gear or anything like that. None of these Reeboks and Nike and all that sort of nonsense. He just turned up and he started lifting weights. Listen, folks, in 6 months he was walking without his frame. In 18 months he was lifting his own body weight on a leg press machine. In 2 years he was loading the 20 kilos, 45 pounds, 20 kilo plates onto the leg press machine by himself. Fantastic. One day he was leaving the club and I said to young Eric, I said, Eric, you better hurry if you want to catch up with David, who was his son, if you remember. I said, David's just left. And he said, no, I don't need to ride with David. And I said, well, do you want me to call you a cab? Because I knew he lived a wee way out of town. Oh, no, I don't need a cab. I said, how are you getting home? And he said, I drive. I looked at him and said, you drive a car? And he gave me, honestly, folks, he gave me the most withering glance you could ever imagine. Looked straight down his nose and he said, however else should I get about? Brilliant, brilliant. A few years ago, we went back to Timaru. I used to have a radio show there, and they invited me on. I said, listen, I'll come on, but I wanted to bring a guest. Eric had just turned 100. I want to bring a guest, so ago, I brought him on the show, and I said, Eric, so what did you do to celebrate your 100th birthday? He said, well, so I got my driver's license again. I said, well, that's brilliant. How many people aged 100 got their driver's license? I said, what else did you do? He said, well, I had a party, and all the family were there. That was terrific, marvellous, marvellous. I said, well, that's fantastic. What else? He said, and I got a telegram from Her Majesty the Queen. And he was most proud of that. He thought that was just the pinnacle of everything. I said, well, that's a life achievement, Eric. I said, so what's next? Somebody looked me straight in the eye with a bit of a twinkle. He says, I don't suppose she sends you one when you're 200, does she? Hard edge rule number 7, folks. Attitude is everything. It is everything. You know, you can't have a lean body and a fat head. You'll never get anywhere unless you're motivated and driven from the neck up to do it. But you also need the resources, the power and the tools from the neck down to enable you to do that, to achieve it. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes. Does anything I'm saying not make sense? It makes perfect sense to me, but I'm just a lone voice here. But if it makes sense, then we need to do something about it, don't we? Here's some people that have done something about it. This gentleman here, oh, I think he lost something like 20 kilos. Friends, to me, I look 10 years younger and I've increased my income 3-fold. Earning capacity. Earning capacity. Based on my newfound energy and what? Drive. What's your main drive hormone, folks? Testosterone. Do you know what? When you get overweight, fat produces its own estrogen. It's not inert tissue at all. The more overweight you are, the more the more estrogen you produce. And as a male, it's not how much you've got, but it's the balance between the two, testosterone and estrogen, that make the difference. That's why we're seeing these problems, isn't it? Here's this lady, Gaynor, had a serious motor accident and actually broke her neck. Had what they call a hangman's break. So her neck dislocated and dropped down behind the vertebra underneath it, which normally would just snap your spinal column like that. Okay? And she was told never to exercise again. So we designed a program for her to get her back into shape. Doing what? Lifting weights, getting strong. This is the same shape that she got into. Reduced her biological age by 25 years. This gentleman here conquered fatigue and jet lag simply by getting in better shape, eating highly energizing foods, ditching all the low energy, low performance foods and drinks. This lady here, this might sound weird to you guys, but it's an important thing. This lady used to struggle finding the right clothes for a business wardrobe. Okay, now she can go. I said to her husband after the program, I said, how did the program work for you guys? And he said, oh, it's terrific. He said, beforehand, my wife used to go into a shop and she could never buy anything. She'd come home after a shopping day in tears because she could find nothing to fit her. And it got to the point where she would even stop coming with me to corporate events as my wife because she didn't feel she looked the part or could dress in anything. Now, he said, she can go into any boutique shop in London and say, you know what, I'll have that, and I'll have that in size 8 and know that it'll fit and she'll look great in it. I said, mate, that's fantastic. He said, do you think so? You should see my credit card. And this gentleman here got in the best shape of his life at the age of 43, simply by applying these principles. How are we for time, by the way?
You've got 2 minutes of questions.
Fantastic. It's cool. Ladies and gentlemen, in business, as I said, things are getting tougher. We are sailing into and through a storm. That's what business world is all about right now. The decisions that you make, the preparations that you make to your vessel, to your business, to your company, to the vessel that is your body are going to be crucial. But it's all about choice. You can choose to do it or you can choose not to do it. It's your choice. But understand this. Actually, does anybody know who this gentleman here is? This man here is or was the captain of this vessel here, the Costa Concordia. Know this, that even on a clear, still, moonlit night, if you take your eye off the ball, things can go very, very badly wrong. So the amount of preparation and degree of preparation that you put into it is going to make a big, big difference. It isn't always simple, it isn't always easy, but it is always worth it. Now, as we said, we do have time for probably 3 quick questions, and here they are. At what age, these are rhetorical questions, at what age would you consider it a smart idea, at what age would you consider it a smart idea to stop taking the very best care of yourself? And if that age, that number that you write down is anything between 10 and 110, that's probably the wrong answer. Question number 2, if it were possible to live to 100, and people are doing it now, and people in our generation will be living to in excess of 100 years of age, what will you need to do from tomorrow different to make that happen with yourself, in your business, and encouraging the people who work in your business to do the same? Because that's the only way you're going to change your business culture. And the third question, probably most importantly, what 3 little clicks? What 3 little clicks are you going to put into your business, into your life, and into your personal habits from tomorrow that will enable you to do that? I want you to think carefully about that. I want you to write them down. Write down 3 little clicks that you can start doing from tomorrow. And importantly, I want you to tweet at least one of them out today. Do it right now if you can. Tweet at least one of them out today. It is all about accountability, ladies and gentlemen. If you're afraid of accountability, can I suggest you're not committed? You need to be committed about this if you're going to make a difference. And then practice those 3 little clicks as if your very life depended on it, because folks, I believe that it does.